Sometimes you don't recognize evil by what it says, but by what your spirit feels before your mind can explain it. There are people whose presence disturbs the air around you, not because they look dangerous, but because something inside them vibrates with a kind of darkness that your intuition detects instantly. Stoic philosophy teaches us that human nature is often masked, but evil. Evil has a way of leaking through even the most charming smiles. It doesn't need to shout. It doesn't need to announce itself. It reveals itself through small fractures, a strange glance, an energy that feels off, a subtle manipulation you can't quite describe. And the truth is frightening. Evil doesn't always live in shadows. Sometimes it sits beside you, laughs with you, prays with you, or shares your dinner table. Not every monster hides in the dark. Some hide in the familiar. But here is the part most people never understand. Once evil realizes you've finally seen it, once it senses that you can't be fooled anymore, it shifts, it adapts, it mutates. And what follows is not an apology, but a series of psychological tactics designed to confuse you, weaken you, and reclaim the control it just lost. In this breakdown, we'll uncover 7 distinct behaviors malicious people display the moment they realize their mask has fallen. These are not guesses. They are patterns, ancient, predictable, and deeply rooted in human psychology. If you've ever felt something was off about someone, but couldn't explain why, you are about to understand everything. When an evil person realizes you have finally seen through the mask they've worn for months or even years, they do not panic the way a normal person would. They do not apologize, they do not reflect, and they do not soften. Instead, they shift into their most dangerous form, reputation rebuilding. This is the moment where the wicked become actors, carefully crafting a new identity, polishing their image, and rewriting their own history in a desperate attempt to survive the truth. And make no mistake, my friend, this new version of themselves is never created for healing. It is created for manipulation. Because evil people know something that most good people don't. They know perception is power. They know if they can control the image you hold of them, then they can still control you. They know that if they confuse you enough, soften your memory, blur your certainty, then they still have access to your mind. And that's all they truly want, access. Not love, not trust, not forgiveness, but access. This is why, once exposed, they immediately begin rewriting the story. Suddenly, the cruel coworker becomes a misunderstood victim of stress. The manipulative friend suddenly has a tragic childhood to explain everything. The partner who lied suddenly portrays themselves as still healing or trying their best. None of this is real. It is a performance. They will deny their past, distort your memory, and even blame external forces, anything to disrupt your clarity, anything to make you hesitate. Evil cannot survive exposure, so it must immediately try to repaint its face. Stoic philosophers understood this long before modern psychology ever tried to explain it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts, but evil people twist this truth. They attempt to dye your thoughts with a color that benefits them. If their old reputation is ruined, they simply manufacture a new one." You will hear claims like, "I'm not who I used to be. People misunderstood me for years. I was going through something back then. I've changed completely." The timing is always suspicious, always calculated. They claim to be reborn only after they are caught, not a day before. A good person grows quietly on their own. A wicked person announces their growth only when cornered. And their goal is simple: to make you question your judgment, to make you doubt the truth your heart already knows, to make you give them one more chance. Because one more chance is all they need to re-enter your life. And once they re-enter, they restart the cycle. Stoic philosophy teaches us never to rely on words, only on consistent action. Evil people rely on the opposite. They weaponize words to erase action. You must understand this. A new reputation does not equal a new person. A new story does not erase an old truth. A new mask does not change the face beneath it. When you finally expose evil, the first thing it does is try to change your perception. Not because it wants redemption, but because it wants survival. Evil cannot function without an audience, without believers, without someone willing to trust it again. So if they suddenly show up with a new version of themselves, if they suddenly become kind, calm, spiritual, or changed, do not be fooled. You are not witnessing transformation. You are witnessing strategy. And this is only the first thing they do when the truth is revealed. There is something ancient inside us, older than language, older than logic, older than civilization itself. It is instinct. It is intuition. It is the silent alarm bell of the soul. And when an evil person realizes you've finally seen through them, this instinct activates immediately. Before they say a word, before they make a move, before they deny or manipulate, something inside you feels the shift. Their presence no longer sits the same way in the room. Their energy becomes heavier, sharper, darker, like cold air passing over warm skin. You can't explain it logically. You can't point to one specific action, but your body knows before your mind understands. Something is wrong. Something is off. Something has changed. This is what we call vibrations, not in a mystical or fantasy sense, but in the real psychological and biological sense. Your nervous system detects danger before your thoughts can process it. Stoicism teaches that we must observe impressions without being ruled by them. But recognizing these impressions, these inner tremors, is part of survival. Here's why this happens. When evil is exposed, its first reaction is not to run. It is to regain control. And that attempt at control leaks through their behavior in ways they cannot hide. Suddenly, they stare too long. They speak too softly or too sharply. They hover around you without reason. Their smiles look forced, thin, stretched. Their jokes feel empty, their tone artificial. Their presence feels heavy, like an emotional weight pressed against you. You feel watched. You feel monitored. You feel evaluated. They want to know exactly how much you know, exactly how much you've seen, exactly how dangerous you are to their facade. And the vibration in the room becomes strange because they feel threatened. And threats do not behave naturally. The Stoics believed that a disturbed soul reveals itself through disturbed behavior. Epictetus wrote, "Circumstances do not make the man. They reveal him to himself." When an evil person feels exposed, their true nature cracks through the surface. Not in words, but in energy. If you pay attention, you will notice. 1. Their eyes change. They watch you differently, not with warmth, but with calculation. A predator assessing whether its prey has discovered the trap. 2. Their boundaries vanish. They begin invading your personal space, not physically always, sometimes emotionally, mentally, or digitally. They want to get close enough to study your intentions. 3. Their tone becomes inconsistent. Friendly one moment, cold the next. They are trying to recalibrate the right approach to regain influence. 4. You feel a pressure when they enter the room. Like the atmosphere tightens, like the air shifts. It's because your subconscious has begun identifying them as a psychological threat. This sensation is not paranoia, it is perception. Humans evolved to sense danger long before we knew how to speak. Your body knows when someone's intentions darken. Evil individuals, once revealed, lose their natural rhythm. They start acting like someone performing a role instead of living genuinely. And the gap between the act and the truth becomes the vibration you feel. Stoicism teaches composure, not ignorance. You don't fight that feeling. You don't run from it. You notice it. You let it inform you. You stay anchored and calm while observing the disturbance in another. Because that vibration is communication. It is their fear speaking. It is their insecurity leaking. It is their mask slipping. And once you become aware of this, something powerful happens. They can no longer control the narrative. They can no longer manipulate your perception. They can no longer hide behind charisma or charm. Your calmness becomes their panic. Your silence becomes their exposure. Their strange vibrations become proof, not just of who they are, but of how deeply they know you've seen it. Stay aware. Stay grounded. Thing 3 will take you even deeper. When an ordinary person is caught doing something wrong, guilt rises, shame rises, and eventually honesty rises too. But when an evil person is caught doing something wrong, something very different happens. They do not feel guilt. They do not feel shame. They do not feel the weight of what they've done. Instead, their mind begins working like a machine, calculating, rewriting, reconstructing the story. Because to an evil person, the truth is not a reality. The truth is a tool. A tool they bend, reshape, and distort whenever needed. That's why when you uncover a lie, they do not confess. They evolve the lie. They feed the original lie with new lies, hoping the growing network of deception becomes too complex to trace, too confusing to challenge, too tangled to unravel. Think of a spider web. One thread is fragile, breakable, but many threads woven together, they become almost impossible to escape. That is how malicious individuals operate. They don't erase lies, they reinforce them. Stoic philosophy warns us about this human weakness. Epictetus said, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." A person who lies, especially to protect their ego, cannot learn. They cannot grow. They cannot face the truth. They are imprisoned by their own deception. But here is what makes evil truly dangerous. When they know you know the truth, their deception becomes strategic, not impulsive. Suddenly, everything they say is rehearsed. Every message is crafted, every sentence calculated, every story reconstructed to protect one thing: their image. Because evil is obsessed with appearance, not morality, not integrity, not reality, just appearance. And that is why thing 3 begins long before they speak. You will notice subtle changes when their stories become longer, not shorter. Because lies require architecture. The truth stands alone. A lie needs support. They start adding context, backstory, explanations, misunderstandings, clarifications. They speak more, hoping the excess words bury the contradiction. 2, they rewrite history in real time. They claim they never said that, or you misunderstood, or that's not what happened, or you remember it wrong. This is called gaslighting, the psychological destruction of your trust in your own memory. 3, they blame circumstances, fate, or other people, never themselves. Responsibility to them is like fire. They avoid it because it burns the ego. 4, they try to control the narrative before you can. They tell others their version of the story first, to paint themselves as the victim, you as the confused one, and the situation as a misunderstanding. They know that whoever speaks first often shapes the perception of everyone else. They pretend to be calm, even amused, because if they act unbothered, they hope you will doubt your own certainty. But beneath that surface, their mind is racing, scrambling, panicking, because losing control is their greatest fear. Deal. Why evil people must lie. It's not just protection, it's identity. For them, the lie is not a mask they wear. It is who they are. Without the lie, they become exposed, empty, unremarkable, weak. So they protect their false identity with everything they have. By deception, with denial, dramatization, gaslighting, and emotional manipulation, rewritten memories, fake vulnerability, fabricated excuses. They weave a web so dense that even they start believing it. And when someone believes their own lies, they become untouchable in their own mind. That is evil, not cartoonish darkness, but quiet, everyday deceit that slowly destroys trust, security, and reality. Deal. The Stoic response. The Stoics faced emperors, tyrants, and masters of deception. Their advice was clear. Focus on what you control. Release what you do not. You cannot stop a liar from lying. You cannot stop evil from hiding. You cannot force truth into someone who fears it. But you can protect your perception. You can stay grounded in facts. You can remove emotion from your judgment. You can see through the performance. Most importantly, you can refuse to enter the web. When you stop reacting emotionally, their lies lose their power. When you stop explaining yourself, their manipulation loses its grip. When you remain calm and observant, you become impossible to deceive. A liar's worst enemy is not confrontation, it is clarity. And that's exactly what Stoicism gives you. Deal. The biggest sign of all. When you confront an evil person with the truth, directly or indirectly. Pay attention to this. They do not try to fix the damage. They try to fix the story. A good person cares about the truth. A bad person cares about being believed. That alone tells you everything. There is a type of evil that is not loud, violent, or dramatic. It is quieter, softer, and far more dangerous. It is the evil of opportunism. The type of person who does not attack you directly, does not scream, does not insult, does not break things. They simply use you over and over again, without ever giving anything back. And when you uncover their true nature, when you finally see their selfishness, their manipulation, their emptiness, their behavior changes instantly. They stop pretending to care. They stop acting like your friend. They stop putting effort into the relationship. Instead, they only show up when they need something. And they vanish the moment you need anything at all. Because to them, you were never a person. You were a tool. The mask they wore before you saw the truth. Before you recognized who they really were, they were everywhere. They checked on you. They offered help. They acted concerned. They pretended to care. They stayed close. They made you believe you mattered, not because they valued you, but because they needed access to your kindness, your energy, your resources, your support. An evil person builds what looks like a relationship, but it is not real. It is a transaction, and you don't even know you're participating. You think it's friendship. They think it's convenience. You think it's shared trust. They think it's strategic positioning. You think it's mutual support. They think it's free supply. The moment they realize you see them, everything changes abruptly. The warmth disappears. The care disappears. The friendliness disappears. And something else takes its place. Distance. Not healthy distance. Calculated distance. They limit contact. They avoid you. They go quiet. They stop showing up. And yet, whenever they need help, whenever they want something, whenever they need emotional or practical support, suddenly they reappear as if nothing happened. This is the key sign. They don't come back because they miss you. They come back because they miss the benefit of you. Your forgiveness, your sympathy, your generosity, your time, your usefulness. To an opportunist, people are not people. People are resources. The loop they try to pull you into. They disappear during your storms and return after the sky clears, acting as if they were there all along. And when they want access again, they use predictable tactics. 1. Fake apologies. Not because they feel guilty, but because they need to unlock the door back into your life. 2. Emotional stories. Life was hard. They were overwhelmed. They were struggling. Convenient explanations, always at the perfect time. 3. Flattery and charm. They love bomb you just long enough to regain access. 4. Memory rewriting. They act like nothing bad ever happened. They hope you follow their fantasy version of the past. 5. Sudden care. Only when they need your energy again. This cycle continues as long as you allow it. Deal with the Stoic warning. Epictetus taught, when someone shows you what they are, do not wish for them to be something else. Stoicism is brutally realistic. It tells us a person's pattern is their truth. Intentions don't matter. Words don't matter. Excuses don't matter. Only actions matter. When someone only appears during your strength and disappears during your struggle, that is their character. Stoicism teaches you to stop chasing emotional explanations and start observing behavioral evidence. A person who vanishes when you are in need is not confused, not busy, not overwhelmed. They are simply uninterested in you when you are not useful. Why their return is not a compliment. Most people feel flattered when someone who left suddenly reaches out again. But their return is not a compliment. It is an insult, because they are not returning to you. They are returning to your emotional labor, your reliability, your problem-solving, your kindness, your stability, your compassion, your resources, your time, your empathy, your attention, your support. They come back because you are a good person, but they are not coming back for you. They are coming back for what you give. That is the difference. The Stoic way to handle them, a Stoic does not argue, fight, explain, justify, beg, chase.
Oh, teach them how to behave.
A Stoic simply understands and detaches. Marcus Aurelius wrote, Reject your sense of injury, and the injury itself disappears. It means, do not let their selfishness become your pain. You cannot control their opportunism, but you can control your access to them. You don't need revenge. You don't need drama. You only need one decision. Stop being available to people who are only available when it benefits them. This is how you reclaim your dignity. There is a special kind of cruelty that does not hit you physically, does not shout at you, does not insult you openly, yet it cuts deeper than any blade. It is the cruelty of mental humiliation. And when an evil person realizes you've uncovered their true nature, one of the first weapons they use is this. And they try to make you feel stupid, inferior, unworthy, less than them. Why? Because if they can make you doubt yourself, you will stop trusting your own judgment. And if you stop trusting your judgment, they regain control. The dark psychology behind this tactic. Malicious people understand something most good people don't. Confidence is power. Self-doubt is weakness. If they can damage your confidence, they can weaken your boundaries. If they weaken your boundaries, they can manipulate you again. And they don't need to scream to do it. All they need is small, sharp sentences disguised as harmless comments. You should have known better. How could you not see this coming? I thought you were smarter than that. You misunderstand everything. You're being dramatic. You always overreact. It's not my fault you didn't get it. Each sentence is a blade, small, silent, and intentional. Their goal is not to hurt your feelings. Their goal is to reshape your mind, to make you question your intelligence, to make you second-guess your intuition, to make you feel embarrassed for confronting them, because the more insecure you feel, the easier you are to control. The trap they want you to fall into. Here is the trap. They attack your intelligence. You feel ashamed. You stop challenging them. They regain power over you. It is psychological warfare. Not loud, not obvious, not dramatic, but calculated. A person who makes you feel stupid is not joking, not teasing, not just being honest. They are trying to weaken your mind so they can dominate it. Why this hurts more than other signs. Being insulted directly is painful, but you can recognize it instantly. Being humiliated subtly is far more dangerous because it makes you blame yourself instead of them. You start thinking, maybe I was wrong. Maybe I'm not as smart as I thought. Maybe I overreacted. Maybe I misunderstood everything. Maybe it is my fault. And once you start blaming yourself, they win. Because then you will apologize for things they did. You will question your instincts. You will silence your inner voice. You will let them rewrite history. This is exactly how manipulators regain control. After you've exposed them, the Stoic response to humiliation. The Stoic philosophy offers the perfect antidote. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." And Epictetus said, "No person can make you feel inferior without your consent." A Stoic does not let insults define them. A Stoic does not let others shape their self-worth. A Stoic does not let emotional attackers win. Stoicism teaches, you cannot control what they say. You can only control what you believe. If their words are lies, they cannot harm you unless you accept them. Humiliation only works if you let their voice become your inner voice. Do not allow that. What evil people fear most? Evil people fear one thing more than anything else. Someone who sees through them and still believes in themselves. They cannot manipulate a person who refuses to feel small. They cannot dominate a mind that refuses to bend. They cannot control someone who knows their own worth. The moment you stop letting their words affect you, they lose their power. How to respond without losing your calm. A Stoic never reacts emotionally to humiliation. Here is the proper response. 1. Stay calm. Your silence is stronger than their insult. 2. Maintain eye contact. It shows you are not intimidated. 3. Do not defend yourself. Defense is what they want. It proves the insult worked. 4. Do not explain. Explaining yourself is submission. 5. State facts, not emotions. You remove all emotional fuel. 6. Walk away when necessary. It is the highest form of strength. Remember, you don't need to win the argument. You only need to win your inner peace. The final truth about this sign. When someone tries to make you feel stupid, It reveals more about them than about you. It shows their insecurity and their fear of losing control, their low self-worth, and their manipulative nature, their inability to face truth, their desperation to stay superior, their weakness hidden behind arrogance. A strong person lifts others. A weak person tries to push others down. Humiliation is the language of the insecure. When an evil person realizes you've finally seen through them, they do not admit their actions. They do not apologize. They do not take responsibility. Instead, they choose a much darker, more manipulative strategy. They pretend they have no idea what they did. It is a performance, a calculated act, a psychological trap, and it is one of the most dangerous behaviors of toxic individuals. The art of playing dumb. A normal person apologizes when they hurt someone. A malicious person pretends they are innocent. They say things like, "What are you talking about? I didn't do anything. You're imagining things. You misunderstood me. You're too sensitive. I never meant that. You're overthinking." They don't deny the action. They deny your reality. That is what makes this tactic so poisonous. Because if they can make you doubt your own perception, they can rewrite the truth itself. The purpose of their pretending. Why do evil people act clueless? Simple. To confuse you, to weaken you, to shift the blame, to escape accountability, to protect their image, to regain control. If they can make you doubt what actually happened, then you will begin to doubt your own memory, your intuition, your instincts, your judgment. And once you doubt those things, you become dependent on their version of events. That's exactly what they want. This is not ignorance, it is strategy. Do not be fooled. They know exactly what they did. They know the harm they caused. They know the boundary they crossed. They know why you're upset. But acknowledging their actions would mean, and they must admit guilt. They must face truth. They must lose control. They must be accountable. They must stop manipulating you. They must show vulnerability. Evil individuals would rather lose everything than admit they were wrong. So they pretend, they act innocent, they act confused, they act shocked, they act wounded. They act like the victim. This is the psychological technique known as plausible denial. A favorite weapon of manipulators? The gaslighting loop. Pretending not to know what they did is one of the purest forms of gaslighting. The cycle looks like this. 1, they harm you. 2, you confront them. 3, they pretend nothing happened. 4, you start questioning yourself. 5, they use your confusion to regain control. 6, you end up apologizing to them. This is how a toxic person flips the entire situation. The victim becomes the confused one. The manipulator becomes the innocent one. And because you value peace more than drama, you might choose silence instead of fighting. They count on that. The Stoic response, clarity over confusion. Stoic philosophy teaches us one essential truth. You cannot control their behavior, but you can control your perception. Stoicism protects you from this manipulation in 3 steps. 1, trust your observations. If their behavior felt wrong, it was wrong. Your intuition is not a mistake, it is information. 2, don't let them rewrite reality. Facts remain facts even if they deny them. 3, do not explain yourself repeatedly. Explaining is a trap. They want you talking, so they can twist your words. Marcus Aurelius said, "If it is not true, do not say it. If it is not yours, do not take it. Do not take their guilt. Do not take their lies. Do not take responsibility for their actions." What they're pretending reveals about them. When someone pretends they didn't know what they did, they are telling you that they are cowards, or they fear accountability, and they know they are guilty. They want to manipulate the situation. They care more about their image than the truth. It means SelfDiscipline. They want to keep you off balance. They do not respect your intelligence. They do not respect your feelings. They do not respect you. This behavior is not confusion. It is contempt. They are not lost. They are lying. How to disarm this tactic? When they say, "I don't know what you mean," Respond like a Stoic. Not with anger, not with emotional outbursts, not with long explanations, but with strength. You understand. Let's not pretend. I'm not confused. I'm done discussing this. Your denial doesn't change the truth. I won't argue about reality. And then, walk away. Distance is the only language manipulators truly understand. The final truth about this sign. When someone acts like they don't know what they did, remember this. They are not seeking truth. They are seeking control. Toxic individuals avoid responsibility like a disease. They hide behind innocence, confusion, and fake cluelessness. But their denial does not make your reality any less true. Your clarity is stronger than their fear. Your awareness is stronger than their deception. Your self-respect is stronger than their manipulation. You saw the truth, and that is something they can never undo. Once an evil person realizes you've uncovered their true nature, they shift into their most dangerous behavior. Manipulation. Pure, calculated, strategic manipulation. Not by accident, not impulsively, not emotionally, but deliberately. As a method of control, manipulation is the final weapon of those who have been exposed. It is the last tool they use when they can no longer hide behind lies, charm, or fake innocence. Why manipulation is their last defense. A toxic person knows one thing very well. They cannot survive without control. Control is how they, again, protect their image, keep you off balance, twist reality, avoid consequences, maintain emotional dominance, or keep you dependent. The deceive, the tisiterwam, hide their true intentions. So when they realize you see through them, they panic, not on the outside, but inside. And that panic makes them dangerous, because now they are fighting for psychological survival. Manipulation doesn't always look like evil. Most people imagine manipulation as yelling, threats, cruelty, aggression. But true manipulators rarely show these things openly. Their manipulation is subtle, gentle, quiet, elegant, carefully measured. They disguise it as a concern, love, to care, advice, support, guidance, apology, vulnerability. The more intelligent the manipulator, the softer their approach. Because soft manipulation is more effective than loud manipulation. You don't even notice it until the damage is already done. Their goal is simple: break your sense of self. Manipulation is not about controlling your actions. It's about controlling your thoughts, emotions, decisions, confidence, the intuition, perception, a reality. If they can control these, they control you, and they do this by attacking the foundations of your selfhood. 1, your confidence. They subtly make you doubt your strength. 2, your memory. They challenge your version of events. 3, your boundaries. They push slowly until you collapse. 4, your independence. They make you feel like you need them. 5, your judgment. They act as if you can't think for yourself. 6, your emotions. They use guilt, shame, fear, or sympathy to steer you. When those foundations collapse, so do you. The psychology behind their manipulation. Most manipulators possess high emotional intelligence. Not emotional maturity, not emotional wisdom, not emotional stability, but emotional intelligence. The ability to read, understand, and exploit others' emotions. They study your insecurities, fears, desires, sees weaknesses, les dreams, the past trauma, emotional triggers, and then they craft manipulation strategies specifically for you. This is why manipulation feels so personal, because it is personal. They design their tactics to target your exact vulnerabilities. Common manipulation tactics they use. Once exposed, evil individuals use several predictable tactics. 1, emotional debt. They help you in small ways, so you feel guilty saying no. 2, playing the victim. They flip the situation, so you feel sorry for them. 3, guilt tripping. They twist your kindness into a weakness. 4, love bombing or kindness bombing. They shower you with attention to regain your trust. 5. Isolation. They subtly steer you away from others, so you rely only on them. 6. Future promises. They promise change. They will never deliver. 7. Fear seeds. They make you afraid of losing them, or afraid of facing life alone. 8. Confusion tactics. They overwhelm you with emotional noise, so you can't think clearly. 9. Boundary violations. They push your limits to test your tolerance. 10. Silent punishments. When you resist, they withdraw affection or communication to punish you. Each tactic is a thread in a larger web, and once you're tangled in it, it becomes harder to break free. The Stoic defense against manipulation. Stoic philosophy gives you the only tools that break manipulation completely. 1. Awareness. Recognize the tactics. Naming manipulation destroys its power. 2. Boundaries. Set clear rules for yourself and enforce them with calm strength. 3. Emotional discipline. Do not react with anger or guilt. Respond with clarity and silence. 4. Inner authority. Trust your own judgment more than their confusion. 5. Detachment. Release emotional dependency. Stand firm in your own values. Epictetus said, "No person has the power to harm you unless you give them the power." Manipulation only works when you surrender control. What you must remember: manipulators want control, not connection; influence, not intimacy; obedience, not understanding. When someone tries to manipulate you after being exposed, it means one thing. They know they've lost the power they once held over you. Their greatest fear is your awakening. Your clarity destroys them. Your inner peace disarms them. Your self-respect ends their game. The final truth about thing 7. When someone tries to manipulate you after you've discovered their true nature, you should not feel fear. You should feel confirmation, because manipulation is proof that they cannot control you with truth. So they must try to control you with illusion. You are not weak for being targeted. You are strong for recognizing it. And the moment you withdraw your emotional energy, their power over you collapses completely. When an evil person realizes you have finally seen their true nature, they rarely respond with aggression first. That comes later. Their first strategy is far more subtle, far more invisible, and far more dangerous. They begin quietly draining your inner strength, not by attacking your confidence directly, but by slowly dismantling the emotional stability you built for yourself. Evil people know they cannot regain your trust. They know the mask has fallen. They know the game is up. So instead of trying to fix what's broken, they try to break you. They target your spirit, your stability, your calmness, the parts of you that threaten them the most. And they do it silently, patiently, cleverly. The psychology of silent draining. This behavior isn't loud. It's not dramatic. It doesn't come with shouting or chaos. Instead, it takes the form of dum, subtle comments, quiet criticism, small interruptions, unexpected tension, unemotional heaviness, draining conversations, awkward silence that feels intentional. The goal is simple: to exhaust your emotional energy, so you no longer have the strength to resist or stay clear-headed. When you are tired, confused, frustrated, or mentally overwhelmed, you become easier to manipulate. Stoic philosophy warned about this. Marcus Aurelius said, "The mind must remain stronger than the impressions it receives." Evil people attack through impressions, through energy, presence, and tension, not through truth. How they drain you without you noticing. This tactic is effective because it feels so normal. Evil individuals may, when asked questions, they already know the answers to, not to learn, but to make you explain yourself again and again, until you feel mentally tired. They pretend not to understand, not to remember, not to recognize what happened. But what do you mean? Isn't confusion, it's strategy. 2. Give half answers that leave you unsettled. They never respond clearly. They leave questions hanging. They avoid closure. Unfinished conversations drain mental energy faster than arguments. 3. Create emotional static around you. Their presence feels heavy. Your mood drops. Your thoughts become scattered. This is not imagination. This is psychological pressure, the kind that wears you down over time. 4. Subtly undermine your confidence. They don't insult you. They hint, "Oh, you think that's what happened?" I guess everyone sees things differently. Are you sure you're not overthinking this? Small doubts, small shadows, small cracks in your certainty, 1,000 little cuts. 5. Drain you with cluttered conversations. They talk in circles, bring up irrelevant details, shift topics suddenly, repeat themselves. Confusion creates fatigue, and fatigue creates vulnerability. 6. Pull you into their emotional weather. They sigh, they sulk, they act defeated, they look wounded, they speak slowly. All of this forces you to give emotional energy to someone who is secretly trying to drain it. 7. Make you feel responsible for their mood. They don't attack you. They make you feel guilty. This is one of the most subtle and devastating forms of manipulation. You start adjusting your tone, your words, your behavior, so they don't feel bad. But in reality, you are giving away your power piece by piece. Why this works on good people? Because good people are empathetic. They don't want conflict. They don't want someone to feel hurt. They don't want to appear cold or cruel. Manipulators weaponize your empathy. They drain your strength by making you carry emotional weight that never belonged to you. The more energy you give, the weaker you feel. The weaker you feel, the more control they regain. The Stoic response to silent draining. Stoicism gives a powerful defense. Guard your inner energy like a precious resource. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Your mind becomes dyed with the color of your dominant thoughts." If you let toxic people drain your mental strength, your inner world will reflect their chaos. Stoics protect their energy in 3 ways. 1. Emotional detachment. Not coldness, not indifference. Control. Seeing their behavior without absorbing it. 2. Clear internal boundaries. Not every burden is yours to carry. Not every silence must be filled. Not every question needs an answer. 3. Limited engagement. Short conversations. Neutral responses. No emotional investment. No deep explanations. You cannot be drained if you stop letting them plug into your inner world. The final truth about thing 8. When an evil person realizes you see through them, they know they cannot control you anymore. So they try to weaken you quietly, tiring your spirit, in hopes that you surrender without realizing it. But the fact that you recognize this pattern already means you are waking up. You are not losing strength, you are reclaiming it. You are not becoming weaker, you are becoming aware. And awareness is the one thing they can never drain from you. When an evil person realizes you've finally seen through the mask they've been wearing, they don't panic, confess, or accept responsibility. No, something far more calculated happens. They shift their attack inward, not toward your actions, not toward your choices, but toward your identity. Because they know a terrifying psychological truth. If they can damage your sense of self, they can reshape your entire reality. A malicious person doesn't need physical force, threats, or insults. Their weapon is subtle, quiet, almost invisible. It begins with doubt. They start by cracking the foundation of your confidence. At first it looks harmless, just little comments dropped casually like crumbs. "You're too sensitive. I think you misunderstood. You always exaggerate. You're overthinking again." To an outsider, these are ordinary phrases. To you, they land like punches to the mind. Because these comments don't aim to correct you, they aim to destabilize you. Every time you second-guess your memory, you drift away from your power. Every time you doubt your emotions, you drift away from your truth. Every time you silence your intuition, you drift away from your own identity. And that is exactly where evil people strike. They rewrite reality while looking you in the eyes. Once doubt is planted, they begin reconstructing the past. They tell you events happened differently. They insist your feelings weren't justified. They deny their actions even if you witnessed them directly. This is not simple lying. It is reality engineering. Stoic philosophy warns against those who twist truth to benefit themselves. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The mind adapts and transforms to what it habitually thinks." Evil individuals understand this. If they force you to think according to their version of reality, they can force your mind to adapt to it. They don't break your reality. They quietly replace it They make you feel small because small people are easier to control. Their next move is emotional corrosion. They mock you gently. They disguise insults as advice. They speak with the tone of someone superior, wiser, more reasonable. Suddenly you find yourself shrinking, questioning your own intelligence, doubting your ability to make decisions. This is not accidental. To them, your weakness equals their safety, because a strong mind cannot be manipulated, but a confused mind can. They want you to depend on them, to look to them for clarity, to trust their version over your own. It's not dominance they want, it's ownership. But Stoic armor exists for a reason. Epictetus taught, you cannot be harmed by what others say unless you choose to believe it. This is where your freedom begins. A Stoic does not allow others to define their worth. A Stoic does not surrender their perception. A Stoic does not trade truth for comfort. You reclaim your power the moment you decide. My perception is valid. My memory is not broken. My emotions are real. My boundaries are justified. The moment you trust yourself again, their entire strategy collapses, because manipulation requires confusion. Without confusion, they have nothing. Your identity is the one battle you cannot lose. Evil people can whisper lies, but they cannot rewrite your truth. Unless you hand them the pen, they can try to make you feel small, but you remain powerful as long as you refuse to shrink. They can attempt to cloud your mind, but they cannot control the thoughts you choose to accept. In Stoic philosophy, your inner clarity is your fortress, and no matter how fiercely someone attacks you, they cannot break a fortress guarded by awareness, reason, and self-respect. Hold the line. Trust your truth. Your mind is yours, and no manipulator can take it. Unless you open the door,